Stories mentor people. They are itself a mentor for the people that are hearing the story. Stories usually and myths are very personal. They speak to the intimate life of the listener. So this is why we are going to share a story, a mentoring story we can call it, so that hopefully it will stir and it will inspire and it will unfold something from the depths of your psyche. I will tell a story that comes from Mayan culture, from Guatemala, and hopefully it will land well and perhaps even disturbing inside yourself. So once upon a time, there is a village, and in this village there is a community with many huts around, and in every hut there is a family, a large one or a small one that is living. And they are celebrating together, they are living together, celebrating life, celebrating or grieving death. And in particular, in one of the huts, there is a woman who is about to become a mother by giving birth to her first child. And so the moment of labor is approaching, and as the woman is feeling this inside her body, she is calling upon support. She's calling a midwife to help her giving birth and ushering into the world this child of hers. So now the time of giving birth is really approaching, and the pains of the labor are very present, as for anything and anyone to be birthed into the world, a labor is needed. And in the midst of the giving birth, there is this crowning moment, the moment in which the inner crown is being crossed over the threshold into this world, onto this earth. And this is something that we call the crowning moment. And of course, the mother is wrapped into the pains of giving birth. Everyone else is preoccupied by everything going smoothly with the mother and with the child. And the midwife, the one who sees through and beneath, the one who has the second sight, some are calling her, she's the only one who really sees more than the fact that this child is a boy. She really sees the gifts that the child is bringing with him into the world. Nobody else sees the gifts. And so, patiently and quietly, she is taking the gifts and she is hiding them somewhere. The gifts of this child, of this particular child, are a green cape and a clay bowl full of water. And so after she's hiding somewhere the gifts, she's returning to the mother and she's making sure that everything is going all right. And by the end of this process, everybody is feeling quite satisfied and happy, because seems like the mother is healthy and the child is healthy. And so the community is leaving the mother and the child alone, just the two of them, skin on skin, having a moment of connection, a moment that is actually 7 days, in which just the mother and just the child together are trying to remember the connection that they had once the child was in the womb of the mother. And after these 7 days, the father of the child is also joining them. And together with the father, all the community is coming to celebrate the arrival of this child on earth. So they are bringing gifts. And one of the gifts that they are bringing is also the name of the child, because they are creating the naming ceremony. And so the community, the village, is naming the child Poder, which means power, which means luck and ability. Poder has arrived. Everybody is celebrating his existence in the world. And they are singing, and they are telling stories, and they are offering the gifts that they made for Poder to be able to grow in a healthy way in their community. And shortly after the ceremony, the mother and the child and the father are remaining by themselves. But around the village, there is this sense of responsibility into raising this child into a grown-up. So time is doing what time knows how to do, is passing, and the child is having his good days and his bad days, as every child on this earth has. And they are bonding, mother, child, and father. And the child is soon crawling on earth, being very curious, bringing the gift of wonder into the world, and the gift of innocence and the presence, as all children have, because they are still connected perhaps with the spirit realm from which they are coming from. And the child is exploring the world, being watched by the village and being cared for by the parents. Watched and cared for in the absence, remember, of his gifts, because the gifts were taken by the midwife and they were hidden in the holy hills, in the nature around the village. And so this boy now, it's not a child anymore, is transforming into a boy that is curious about life, and it's exploring all the corners of the community, getting in touch with many members of the community. Surely he's transforming into a youth, into a teenager, that once he is stepping into this stage of his life, he is also stepping into these questions and questioning and being drawn by the mysteries of the world. And in particular, by two questions. And perhaps you're wondering now, what are the questions? Well, if you were to be a youth again, or if you are a youth, what are the questions? Or even if you're not a youth, what are the questions that are maybe in a way troubling you, but they are very essential in the way they are troubling you? So maybe you can even collect some possibilities, one question or two questions. He had two questions, and those questions were: do I have something to offer to the world? And does the world have something to offer to me back? These were the two questions that now the adolescent, that the youth that Poder was burning with. His mind was burning with these questions, and his heart was burning with these questions. And all he could think of was engaging in answering the questions. And so he was asking several members of the community, but their answers were not really satisfying him. And so he remembered that there is a person in the community that ushered him into earth, into life, the midwife. And everybody said that the midwife was one that was really wise. So he went and found the midwife, now old and even more wise. And he told her the torment and the curiosity, the deep curiosity to find out the answers of these two questions. Do I have something to offer to the world, and does the world have something to offer me back? Being tormented with finding answers to these two questions of him, he went to the midwife, because everybody in the community said that the midwife was the wise one, the one that was seeing through and seeing that which was invisible. And so he found the midwife and he started to tell her his story. He started to tell her that he has these two questions. Do I have something to offer to the world? And does the world have something to offer me back? And the midwife welcomed him and deeply listened to his deep curiosity and told him, because she saw that he is ready to go on a quest, she told him that the time has come for him to leave his community and go out into the nature in search of these questions, in search of the answers to these questions. And so Poder, not really knowing what the quest is, went to his parents and he informed them that now he is ready to go for his quest. And his parents, although perhaps worried and scared for the fate of his son, prepared him for the departure, gave him some food and a little bit of water to have on the journey. And more important than the food, they gave him their blessings and their prayers. And they accompanied him out of the community. So now we are here with Poder holding tightly the two questions, and for the very first time in his entire life, he is outside the community where everything is new. He is leaving behind everything that was familiar and known, and he is going into the unknown and into the invisible. And so he is traveling and he is journeying. I don't know how long, perhaps days or perhaps months or even years. The food is being consumed by now and the water is being consumed, and he is finding his own way to sustain himself. And in his journey, he is meeting other wanderers from whom he is learning this and that, and he is offering his gifts as much as he knows about his gifts. And yeah, you can imagine that the journey is deep and long and not without challenges. And finally he is arriving in front of a hut, and he's knocking at the door of the hut, and from the hut a couple, a man and a woman, is getting outside the door. And Poder starts to tell them about his journey, about his quest, about the two questions that he's holding. And to his surprise, the couple is saying that they know him and they were waiting for him for such a long time. And so the couple is inviting Poder into their home, and they are giving him food and offering him a place to sleep overnight. And so Poder is making himself comfortable in the home of this couple, and in the morning the couple is telling him that they have the gifts of Poder. They have the gifts that the midwife was hiding in the holy hills. And so they are bringing the gifts. Remember the gifts? The gifts were the green cape and the clay bowl full of water. And so they are bringing the gifts and they are giving him those two gifts. And maybe you can connect with Poder. He is quite confused. Of course, happy and content to receive from the world his own gifts, but at the same time confused, not knowing what to do with these gifts. And so the wise couple is telling him that he can go now to a certain particular person that lives far from where they were, that knows how to use these gifts and has a similar gift, and he could be an apprentice to that person. And so Poder is taking his gifts, the green cape and a clay bowl full of water, and he is going into his apprenticeship time. And as he was consistent with the questions, similarly, he is consistent in his time as an apprentice. And he is spending a long time apprenticing the art of using the cape and the clay bowl full of water. And when the time is right, just when the time is right, the master that knows how to use this gifts is giving him a new name, is giving him the name of the Rainmaker. And now what used to be poder is understanding that he has a bigger life, a bigger mission that he is saying yes to and that he is responsible of. And he is humbly learning the art of making rain. And after a while, after a long while, after the apprenticeship is over, he is returning to his community. Now, not anymore as poder, but as the one who is making rain, Rainmaker. And he's returning to his community, and the community is welcoming him. And because they were living in a dry land where rain was of real need, it seems like his gifts are really needed and appreciated by the community. And so every time that the rain was needed, poder was taking the green cape and the clay full of water, and he was going, finding his way on the clouds and sprinkling the exact amount of water that was needed for the rain to pour down from the sky. And this went on for a while, and the community was content to have him taking care and tending the lands and the crops and the water flow. And he was humble. He was humbled, knowing that this gift is as much his as it is of the community. So we could say that everybody was appreciative and grateful for the gifts that Rainmaker was bringing into the community. But it's not really like that. There was at least one member of the community, a guy, a lost soul, one who, for some reason, did not have a midwife when he was birthed into the world. So nobody really knew his gifts. One who didn't even have the capacity to ask the right questions. So this particular person didn't enjoy all the attention that Rainmaker was receiving from the community. For some reason, he also wanted that kind of attention. He was envious, we could say, and confused. So he was tracking Rainmaker, and he started noticing what he was doing. And because he wanted so much to be like Rainmaker, one day he followed Rainmaker all the way until the cave in which Rainmaker was keeping his green cape and the bowl full of water. And he saw what Rainmaker was doing. He saw that he was putting the green cape on, and he was taking the bowl of water, and he was getting on the clouds, and he was sprinkling the clouds with water. And so this guy thought, well, that's not hard to do. I can do that. So the next day, he went into the cave just before Rainmaker, and he stole the green cape and the bowl full of water. And being on the cloud, he thought, well, why putting just some drops of water? I'll put all the water that is in the bowl so that the earth can be really nourished. And so he pours all the water, and in that moment, many clouds are gathering on the sky, and a huge storm is starting, that it was unstoppable. And so much rain was pouring down on earth that the crops were now endangered, and even some of the animals of the community were taken by the waters. Perhaps even some huts were taken by the water. So people in the community started praying and praying to the gods and goddesses to stop this flood, to stop this huge rain. And gods and goddesses heard the prayers of the people of the community, and finally they stopped the rain from pouring down. But they were really furious. They were furious on the people and on how some gifts were misused and abused. And so they decided that from then on they would take the ability for anyone, even midwives, take the ability for them to see the gifts of the newborns. They couldn't take the gifts themselves because they are so natural, so embedded in who we are, that they couldn't take that away from us. But they did take the ability for others to see our gifts. And so we are the descendants of Rainmaker. We are the descendants of Poder, having gifts inside ourselves, needing to go for a quest, needing to have support, midwives or perhaps mentors that can help us in holding the big and essential questions that are paving the path to finding that golden truth that is only ours to offer to the world.